Go ahead.
Good evening. Call this regular meeting of the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education to order Thursday, February 7th, 2019. Please call the roll, Mr. Philo.
Mr. McCourt.
Here.
Mrs. Malad.
Here.
Ms. Reister.
Here.
Mr. Browning.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
The pledge.
Oh, yeah, the pledge is missing. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have a little item that we're going to slot in here that's not on the agenda, which is to say happy birthday to our superintendent, Mr. Lally.
Thank you.
Okay, now you guys gotta sing.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jean. Happy birthday to you. Almost said Libby.
Thank you very much.
That wasn't recorded, was it?
Oh, yes.
I'll share this with you, some of my coworkers this morning. I had 2 gift certificates on my desk to give to somebody, and I was at a meeting most of the morning. So I came back and I had 3 cards in an envelope. And so I opened the birthday cards up and I opened up a card and it's got 2 gift certificates in it. And I'm thanking them. And here they had taken my gift certificates and stuck them in the card. So see what I have to work with.
That's a pretty good idea.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Reister. Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Ms. Reister.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Mr. McCourt.
Yes.
Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, we have approved the minutes of the Thursday, January 10th organizational meeting and the regular meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any discussion, comments, corrections?
Mr. McCourt.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Ms. Reister.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 5, board reports and good of the order. Mr. McCourt.
I have a few things. Girls basketball game I was at the other night and saw that they had a good win. And it's kind of interesting. We had a game the other night on a normally a boys basketball night where the JVs I think started at 4:30, and then we had the girls varsity and then the boys varsity. It's kind of a nice little change up there. I appreciate Mr. Alexander's scheduling there because I think that's kind of neat that we get the boys and the girls ever so often in the same night. So, and the boys also are doing very well. Had an opportunity to attend the Mayor's Forum not too long ago. I believe it was last week. Just talking about things around the city, what's going on. This is a meeting where the citizens can come in front of the mayor and just ask questions about what's happening, praises, complaints, but very good meeting. And then I was in a meeting with the to interview architects for the junior high and high school project, keeping in mind that the junior high and high school has not gone to the voters yet, but as we move along here, we need to get some things worked out and done prior to that. But we are down to 2 architects currently, and we'll be having another meeting to wrap that up. And then had a opportunity to visit the Rotary Club and have a Rotary meeting. Myself and Mrs. Reister was there. But, you know, we're still out and about trying to get to everything we can. And but everything is good. I think there's a sense of upbeat and I know that's going to even increase when spring comes around and we really start going full force on the project at the primary building. But everything is going well. Our kids are doing well, I think, and there's just a little spring in everybody's step, and hopefully spring will come around here soon to help that. But that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Okay. Ms. Reister?
I attended Baker Middle School's girls basketball game. Some tough little girls out there playing on the court in junior high. So boys varsity and junior varsity basketball games have been great. Lot of action, very good. Appreciate in both the middle school and the high school students being good sportsmen on the field. Or court, I guess I should say. OMEA, great representation. I'm sure Jerry will give stats. But we, well, so I didn't want to steal your
No, that's
thunder. So
okay.
I just wanted to say, because I had a student that participated, one of my children, and they had a great representation at OMEA over at Stebbins. So wrestling has had a good season, indoor drumline. We just have great kids in our district doing great things.
Mrs. Malad?
I'd just like to say thank you to the staff of Fairborn High School for putting on a wonderful scheduling night for the 8th graders this week. And thank you to all of our custodians and people who are helping to keep the buildings up and running over the past week, which with as cold as the temperatures were, I know we had some issues, and it was good that everybody was back in school on Monday. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Browning?
Okay. Mary was right. I do have some stats on the OMEA. It's really, I always talk about the music program, but we had 96 instrumentalists and 5 vocalists at that. There was a total of 26 events that they participated in. Out of those 26, we got 20 superiors, which is the highest rating you can get. We had 5 excellents and a good. And it's really neat to see the students participating in that. And, I got to go around and watch a few of them. And one last thing was our percussion ensembles. They, since 2011, they've always gotten superiors. We had 2 of them there, and both got superiors. And since 2011, the percussion ensembles have always gotten superiors. Last weekend was, to me, a great weekend to be a Skyhawk. The competition cheer team advanced to the state tournament, so they're going to state again. Our winter guard in the first competition of the year got first place, and then the indoor drum line got second place in their first competition, so it was a great weekend. And then the last thing I want to mention is the musical. It's coming up the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and been to them the last few years, and they're always outstanding events. So it's like $10 to get in. You can go online and buy tickets ahead of time, and I would recommend to anybody to go see that at least one night, if not all 3. So that's it.
Yeah. And we have new lighting in the
That's right.
in the
Yes.
auditorium this year. So on Monday, I attended the Progress Ohio Progressive Hero Awards. One of the organizations that I participate in, Public Education Partners, was awarded the Education Hero Award from Progress Ohio. So that was an interesting event to go to in Columbus. Attended Rotary yesterday, where Gene Lally presented an abbreviated version of his State of the Schools award. It was well received by the Rotarians in attendance. Also, we all received a postcard from the intermediate school, and the thing that impresses me about this is not the fact that we as a board received the card, but that these are designed for teachers to send to parents a positive note about something that their student has done. So with all of the other things that teachers have to do to keep order in the classroom and grade papers and do all of that stuff, there's an ability for them to take the time to write a quick little note to the parents and say something nice about something one of their students has done. So that's interesting thing to see. Also attended the architect meetings that Mr. McCourt spoke of, and that's pretty much it. Nothing to add to anything else there, so.
Mr. Wilson, if I may add one thing, I stopped in the high school the other day and sat down a little bit with Officer Hearn, just to ask what we're doing as far as safety throughout the buildings, drills we may be having concerning active shooters. And Officer Hearn went over quite a few things with me. He also went over a few things that he's working on, trying to do in the schools. First thing I noticed coming up to the front door of the high school when I signed in was that in every window there's a number. Well, that's an identification number for the police officers. In case there's a situation here at the high school, they know what, they can tag what, or identify what room it is and where it is. But I think this is one thing that I'm going to try and stay up on is the safety and security of our kids, as well as central office and Mr. Lawley. But I just want everybody to know that our SRO officers are doing a good job. One of my questions was, does he communicate with the other 2 SRO officers that we have? And he says yes on a daily basis. Of course, I'm sure everyone knows we've got our 3rd SRO officer in the buildings. So I think what we're trying to do, and I think if you ask around, not many districts have that 3rd person. Some of them don't even have 2, but we now have 3. And that's all due to our Fairborn Police Department and the district under Mr. Lawley's direction. But I think we ought to feel good. Parents ought to feel good that we're really on top of this security thing and trying to make our schools, one to be looked at from everyone else. So thanks to Officer Hearn, the other 2 SRO officers, Wesley and
Frederick
Frederick.
and Zink.
And Zink, yes. So thanks to all of them, and I think that this having that vision or having that person in the building, I think you can talk to your high school principals and other principals throughout the district. It does make a difference. So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Wilson, again.
Okay, we'll move on to recognition of visitors and public comments. If there's anyone that wishes to address the board, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. And
Ann Foster, and I live in Fairborn. I have some news about new businesses on Main Street. We have the Legion lost their Suite 3 and Suite 1, but it's now occupied by something called Home Experts Realty. And she and her husband have a daughter that I hope will be coming here to school. Across the way, on the other side, tax time is gone, and I'm told by my landlord that it's going to be a bunch of some kind of doctor thing. But they are busy renovating, and I can't seem to get my schedule and theirs together. I was able to give them some keys because I used to use a little space in there. And I got that done, but now I'm hoping to get them more information as I'm on the Downtown Fairborn Committee of the Chamber. And I'm keeping Matt aware of this, and I look forward to maybe some more children there. These are signs that are good for the community, that we can have new businesses, and we hope that keeps on because it's a big help to everything. Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Ann.
thanks, Ann,
Thanks, Ann.
and thanks for the clippings that you provide.
Yes,
For us.
Oh, yeah.
I try to do that when I can.
we appreciate it. Thank you, Ann.
My name's Carmen Bear. I live here in Fairborn as well. I had a couple questions about the Ohio third grade reading guarantee. I'm curious to know how much federal funding we receive from this and how much of it is going towards the tutors and stuff to help the kids reach their goals. Also curious to know about the replacement of Christina Miller, who was involved in this program and has been on personal leave per se, and 2 other people are taking her position, one of which is leaving on the 12th of this month, and another person's coming in to fill her position. With these 2 people coming in and out, aren't we hurting the students by not filling this with an independent person that can step up and follow through the rest of the year and help these students meet their goals? I understand with the 3rd grade reading guarantee that if they don't meet these goals, they can be exempted from it, but who are we ultimately hurting? We're hurting the kids by exempting them and moving them forward. You know, out of the $73 million that you're projected to get in 2019, there's an expected balance of 27,000, and out of that, you're only spending $1.8 million on supply and textbooks. Why is this? Why are we not putting more of our funds towards the students to help them with their reading and help educate them? Again, out of this money, it's my understanding you're looking to hire 3 tutors and allow them to work 17 hours a week. You're talking about hundreds of students on an IEP program, and you're talking about 3 tutors helping 17 hours a week. Is this going to be before school, after school, during school? How are we going to help these students reach our goals before the state steps in and takes over? From my understanding, we're not that far off from the state stepping up and saying, we're not meeting our goals, we're going to take over this. So I'm just kind of curious to know where we stand with this and what are we going to do to help our students? You know, so that's all I got.
Okay, and Mr. Philo has your contact information?
He does.
Okay, so there will be administrators,
But I think this needs to go out to all the parents of the students on IEP programs. You know, it shouldn't just be limited to this room right here tonight. So I can communicate with Mr. Philo all day long, every day. If it doesn't reach the other parents to find out what's available, we're hurting our kids. Okay, and as I spoke with other teachers yesterday regarding my son, if he gets pushed on to 4th grade, per the 3rd grade reading guarantee, all right, it says if you move a student further, 3rd through 5th, and then try to fix the problem after that, it's even harder. So why are we pushing students forward when we need to be holding them back? Why are we letting parents step up and say, let's go ahead and pass our child forward in hopes that he catches up? Okay. So yes, I had communication with Mr. Philo, but it needs to go out to everybody, just not me.
Dr. Brackenhoff will be giving us an update on 3rd grade reading guarantee. I'm not sure what all she'll cover, but perhaps she might be able to answer some of your concerns.
But will I be given the opportunity to rebuttal and come back and ask additional questions after she's?
You are always welcome to do that, absolutely. Yeah.
okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close recognition of visitors and move on to school district presentations. Mr. Lally.
Okay, again, good evening, and we have a few presentations for you here tonight. First, to give us an update on the 2019 graduation requirements and alternative pathways is the principal of Fairborn High School, Amy Gayhart.
Good evening. So I think I was here in the fall last, and we talked about graduation requirements. Just really quickly to recap, the state of Ohio says that you have to fulfill 2 requirements in order to graduate. The first one is have 21 credits in a set areas of content, and then you also have to earn 18 points on the 7 end-of-course tests. We have been waiting anxiously all year to find out if they were going to reinstate the capstone, or I'm sorry, the alternative pathway option, which includes a senior capstone project for our seniors, because some of them will fulfill the 21 credits, but they will not end up earning the 18 points on the end-of-course assessments. Right before Christmas, the state did push that through and approve it, and so we have been working diligently since we've come back from winter break to meet with our students who would qualify for that pathway in order to get them to graduation. So as you can see on the screen, we have 256 students right now that are on track to graduate with the class of 2019. 34 of those do qualify for the alternative pathway because they have not met their end-of-course points. And so for public schools in Ohio, there's basically 6 options that those students can meet to. and fulfill the graduation requirements. And so I have met personally with all 34 of those students. We have assigned them between 4 classes to one of 4 teachers who are overseeing their progress on that graduation plan to fulfill 2 of the 6 options. Many of them are completing the senior capstone project, which is an extended research project. And at the beginning of May, they will report that out to a committee within the building to illustrate and show what they have learned through that process. And so I will continue to meet. I was in this morning and this afternoon into 2 of the 4 classes to meet one-on-one with the students and just make sure that they are fully aware, they understand that they are making progress, and to let them know that I'm watching. I told them I'm going to become their best worst enemy because they're going to get tired of seeing me. But my goal is to get them to graduation. I'm not going to be happy until I shake their hand in May at the Nutter Center. So I want them to know it's a big deal. And I feel like if I handle it, they think it's a big deal. So we will continue to meet with students throughout the rest of the spring. They have very clear dates and deadlines outlined, and so there's really 2 layers here. There's the teacher that they're seeing every day, and then there's me that's going to be following up. And when Mr. Kearns starts in March, he'll actually be a 3rd layer that we're going to have him oversee some of this as well, just to make sure that we can get these students to graduation. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Next, to give a presentation on the 3rd grade reading guarantee is Dr. Brackenhoff.
Okay, recently, we received the results of the fall testing that our 3rd graders took, and that is the 3rd grade state English language assessment. And at that time, we had 153 students who had met the 3rd grade reading guarantee. And so they have done it by scoring either the sub-score of reading only or in the total test score. We have 32 students who are eligible to be exempted. That would be through either IEPs or our ELL students. And again, I say eligible for exemption because that is a group decision. If it's a student on an IEP, that's a decision that the administrators, the teachers, the parents participate in making that final decision. In the fall, 137 students met the fall OST requirements. 16 of them met it by the sub-score, so the majority of them met an end-of-the-year 3rd grade test by passing that in the fall. We have 54 students who were with us at the beginning that have since withdrawn, and so currently we have 143 students who have not met. So if you think of this is an end-of-the-year test that these students took in November, and at that time, about half of our students had met the requirements of 3rd grade reading guarantee. That's basically where we are each year. You know, it's not too different from in the years past. So let's talk about some of the things that the primary building is doing to support these students. Many of these students that are still working on the requirements of 3rd grade guarantee are getting Title I tutoring. Students who have not met the guarantee, many of them are on reading monitoring plans called RIMPs. These updates are sent to parents each with each report card. In October, the administrators at the primary building had a meeting for 3rd grade parents to discuss the 3rd grade reading guarantee. They had approximately 50 families attend. They provided dinner to over 100 people that night. And so there was an information session and breakout sessions to give parents the opportunity to take the practice test. And it was incredible to see 3rd graders showing their parents how to log on to the Chromebook and get to the testing site and actually, try answering some of those questions. And then the teachers shared strategies to help their children with citing text evidence and answering questions on that assessment. Letters were also sent with a report card, so to all parents with their state test scores in January. And then the counselors are providing test strategy sessions for all the 3rd grade classes. In January, they had another 3rd grade reading guarantee meeting, and at that time, approximately 28 parents attended. and received information about what the third grade reading guarantee is, and so that also that they would understand what that test might look like. There was a meeting in January also for first grade parents. So what the primary building is starting to do is educate our parents that third grade guarantee is coming up, but we build those skills beginning from the time they step foot in the door. But they had over 60 people attend that, and again, they had breakout sessions in reading, math, and writing, trying to provide parents some strategies that they might use to help their children at home. Later in February, there will be another meeting during conferences, which is taking place tonight and next week, again, to answer questions for parents and provide them with information on the alternate testing. So there are several ways that students can meet the third grade reading guarantee. The Ohio State test is one. They're given that in the fall and the spring. But they also take some alternate assessments. So they take a STAR reading test in January, and that is accepted by the state as one of the alternate assessments. And then in March, they will take another alternate assessment, which is a Terra Nova. And these tests as alternate assessments, it doesn't mean that they're easier than the state tests. They test in a different manner. For example, the Terra Nova test is a paper pencil test, and for some kids that really does provide that extra push that they need to meet the scores. And then April 2nd through 5th, we will do the third grade ELA testing. So at kindergarten registration this year, the principals will also be presenting information on the third grade reading guarantee. So starting in kindergarten all the way through third grade, the goal is to build student skills, but also to make sure we're informing parents along the way. All right. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about professional development. During the school year, our teachers have 3 days set aside for professional development. One is the very beginning of the school year. The second one was in September, and our third one comes up on March 1st. So this time we've decided to try a little bit different approach to a professional development. In the past, we've either had some district-wide things where it's large group, or each of the buildings did individual sessions. It's a lot of work for the building administrators to juggle all of that. And we know one of the things that our teachers wanted was a variety of topics as well as choice on what they would attend. So this year we designed a conference format called Innovations in Learning, and I've provided the board members with a program planning guide that went out to our staff on Monday. We have different strands of instruction that aligns with our Ohio Improvement Plan as well as our federal programs plan, with topics around school climate, classroom instruction, technology, data and assessment, student support, and vertical articulation, which is letting teachers from like third grade talk to fourth grade teachers, or fifth grade teachers talk to sixth grade teachers. So over the course of the day, teachers will sign up for 8 learning sessions as well as lunch. Each of the sessions offered from 20 to 27 different topics that teachers could choose from. During the lunchtime, we will have local food trucks, so teachers will be able to stay right here at the high school. A total of 85 different learning topics over the course of the day. Our presenters are both from district staff. We have many teachers that are presenting. We have Wright State instructors and professors. We have some publishers that are coming in, as well as some consultants. So all of these present an opportunity for our teachers to attend a conference right here in our own backyard here at Fairborn High School. We started Monday night sending out the program planning guide, and registration online officially began at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. And Mrs. Williams and I I pushed the button at 5 o'clock, it went out, and in 10 minutes, we had over 80 teachers that had registered. They were, I think, hovering over their computer waiting. We estimate that we should have about 450. The registration period is a week long. In the first 18 hours, we had almost 380 staff members that had already registered for this conference. So I think we've hit on something that is appealing, and hopefully it will be successful, and that our attendees will find things that they can learn from, but also maybe it will trigger a thought for them to present next year, because if we have a successful conference this year, we will try this format again next year. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Dr. Brackenhoff. Next up is a monthly financial report from our treasurer, Mr. Kevin Philo.
Good evening. I'd like to present just an abbreviated version of the December 2018 monthly financial report. This is for fiscal year 2019. In terms of the overview, total receipts are above projections. I'll focus more on the, go ahead and,
You've got it.
all right. This is the format that we use, the monthly actuals and the monthly estimates and the fiscal year to dates. Just an overview in terms of the total receipts are above projections for the year by 4.5%. That's a little over $1 million. The main part of that is the other state revenue. We had a huge payment for economically disadvantaged. On another side note is our income tax is above a little bit. The January collections were above a little bit as well. So in terms of receipts, we're doing very good there. In the expenditures, I try to break down into major categories. You can see that salaries and wages and benefits are slightly above. But overall, our total expenditures for the year are below projected by 1.1%, or about $330,000. So a combination of receipts above and projections below leaves us about above estimated about 1.3 million. This is difficult to track on a month by month. A lot of businesses do it by quarter or every 6 months. Not a lot of school districts use this format. And being new, I will get better at it, get some of the nuances of when payments come and not come. But very pleased with where we're on track. Here you see in terms of month by month, if we focus on this, our fiscal year ending cash balances are on track to be anywhere from about 27 million to 28 million. Any questions on the monthly financial report? If there are none on that, what I'd like to talk about later in the agenda is the Fairborn schools are seeking volunteers for a financial review committee. Part of what my goal is to communicate more about the school finances. And so I'm looking for volunteers. This will be a creation of a Citizens Financial Review Committee. We want to invite members of the public to be part of it, to volunteer 1 hour of their time to meet with us about every quarter. I'm looking for about 15 to 20 community members that will join superintendent, myself, the board president, and members of the association, just to get a more better in-depth understanding of our finances, both the school finance and of Fairborn schools finances in particular. Pam will be posting this on social media. We'll be sending it out to the news. So if anybody's interested, please let us know. We want to represent the entire community, so we're looking for a short bio or a short resume, just to let us know in terms of if they're interested. Also, in terms of the monthly financial report, I'll take the opportunity just to talk a little bit about benchmarks for comparison to prove value. It's not just about the dollars, but I also want to prove to the community of where we're at, that the Fairborn schools are a good value, that they are a good investment. These are the total effective tax rates for residences in 2017. And you'll see Fairborn on the far right in blue at 63.08 mils. Lower than them are a little bit is Xenia and Greenview. It goes all the way up to locally is Troutwood and Oakwood. Troutwood is at 103 mils. Beaver Creek is just to the right of us. They're about 5 mills above us. So in terms of tax rates, this is what people pay in Fairborn on their tax rates. Just to show in terms of when we're comparing stuff, the Dayton Daily News loves to compare grade cards and other benchmarks. And so I want to get out to the community in terms of other benchmarks to show our value. Another thing to look at is when we talk about dollars is per pupil expenditures. Again, this is fiscal year 2017. You'll see Fairborn on the far right in blue, spending a little over $9,000 a year. You'll see towards the middle left in black is the statewide average at over $11,500 per year. And then far to the left is Dayton and Kettering. This is what we actually spend per pupil. We take our general fund, divide it by our number of students, and this is the average. In this room yesterday, I presented on Career Day, and I told each one of these kids is every time they walk in the door, would it make them more excited about school if they found $55 laying on the sidewalk every time they entered this building? And they all thought that was great. And I said, well, this community is spending $10,000 on you. They're spending $55 a day on you to attend here. So I want them to appreciate what the community is doing for them and take it a little more seriously in terms of $10,000 to 16 and 17-year-olds is a lot of money. This really, in terms of spending more, not necessarily will make us greater or better, but we're spending roughly $2,500 less than the statewide average. Yet our benchmarks are for state expectations. For us to even get to the level of just the statewide, not necessarily Kettering or West Carrollton, another 2,500 times 4,000 kids would be another additional $10 million a year plus. If I break it down a little bit more in terms of a direct comparison, I picked Troutwood and Huber Heights. Our expenditure per pupil that year was, for fiscal year 17, $9,073. Our average income of our residents is $47,000, and the median income is a little bit less than $29,000. If we look at Troutwood, their expenditure per pupil is 31% higher than us. You saw their tax rates were higher, but their average income is lower, and their median income is lower. So in terms of is a lot of support in Troutwood for their schools in terms of what they spend. As another comparison, took Huber Heights, spends roughly 17% higher than us. Their income is slightly higher. Their average income is 5.4% more, and their median income is about 17% more. But in terms of, I want people to understand when we're comparing the Dayton Daily News or whoever prints these grade cards, and we're shown as comparisons, we need to take other factors in. And I want to educate this community on the financial part of those comparisons. So I will try to do that every time I present on finances in terms of some other interesting financial data.
Good.
Any questions? Yes.
The numbers you want on that committee, what was it again?
I'm looking for about 15 to 20 people.
15.
Yeah.
Is that
We'll have
what
a-
I didn't
Yep.
catch that quite.
We're going to invite the associations, the Teachers Association, the Classified, and the maintenance bus drivers to join us. We want to educate them. But we'll go through this financial report more in detail. We'll answer questions. And hopefully, those people then, when their neighbor turns to them and says, you're on this financial review committee, do they really need this proposed property tax increase? Or I found it to be a very effective tool, and it really will help educate our people. So if you know people, please have them contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philo. I'm going to skip down to F, and here from Hill International is Julie Taggart to give us a new school construction update.
You're moving up in the world.
What we are here tonight to do is to approve the schematic design phase submission for the new intermediate school, which is the first pass of design. It's conceptual. I understand everybody got the phase submission in their board packet as a PDF. At first, is there any questions, or is there anything in particular you want me to explain? There is an executive summary there. Basically, we got the drawings and the program of requirements from the architect right around Thanksgiving. I have November 20th here. I think it was right in that week. We do an estimate, and the architect does an estimate, and we compare those, and we contrast those, and we talk about those. And we eventually come to a reconciliation where everybody is pretty much in agreement, and that happened in early January. Currently, just like at the primary school, we're carrying a locally funded initiative to cover any budget overruns, some additional classroom space, and also the escalation, because we are still a year or so out from starting construction on this project. So we know that there'll likely be some escalation. And we used, in order to reconcile and get that down as far as we could, we used sort of a combination of what's called value engineering, or trying to find a better way to do things and get the same response, and alternates, just like we did for the elementary. So when you got your bids for the primary, you had a list of alternates that you got to look through. It looks like it's going to be the same way going through the intermediate school. So there is a resolution that needs to be passed tonight, and there will be a locally funded initiative form that will go through the OFCC's DocuSign process. And then we've got the phase submission forms ready to go, and they've been signed. So if there's any questions, I can answer those. I can talk a little bit about the primary. It's been very wet. So I think we'll have a better idea tomorrow when we meet with the contractor on what the impact of the weather is on that one. Hopefully they can negate all that. So any questions? No questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Building update on the primary construction. Not a lot has happened over the last month from my report due to the severe cold weather that we had, and now we've gone into warm weather and monsoon the last few days. I did go by today, and there was one person out working. Couldn't tell what he was doing or what he possibly could have been doing, but not a lot of change from last month. They did lay some foundation in certain areas. So as soon as we get through the worst of this weather, I think we're going to start seeing results. Okay. As far as the intermediate goes, I think we do have some samples. Did you bring the samples with you? We have some brick samples that we'll look at in work session because there were some questions there about what we may want to rethink. So if you want to hang around for the work session and see what the brick of the intermediate will look like, we're going to look at that tonight. Okay, that's my report for a construction update.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Item 8, retention policy. There's no motion or vote on that item? Okay.
Just an information item only.
Okay. Item 9, budget and finance. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Reister.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any discussions?
In terms of, just want to highlight, item 9A is the monthly financial report. B is a attached 6-year contract with Kettering Health Network to provide athletic services and other support for Fairborn
Right.
schools. Lori Ode is here from Kettering Health Network if you have any questions. But we're very pleased with this contract in terms of they will provide a 6-year contract that supports our school, gives us 2 free sports trainers, and also provides some sponsorship money to the district. So we're pleased. This is a significant increase from previously working with Premier.
Right.
Thank you for being
Yes.
here.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah, I
thank you
read
very much.
I read it, and it looked good. It looked very
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Yes.
And then the donation of new band uniforms, the surplus old band uniforms, and disposal of assets. So with that, any questions? We'll call the roll. Ms. Reister.
Yes.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes?
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries.
Item E is just an informational item on the formation of the Citizens Financial Review that I already went over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item 10, administrative reports and superintendent recommendations, which runs through page 5, which is the usual stipends, hirings, and resignations, and so forth. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Browning.
second.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Any discussion or comments on any of these items?
Do we want to name the donations?
Yeah, yeah, okay. The donations, item 19 on page 5.
The superintendent would like to gratefully accept the following gifts and/or donations. $100 for the Ackerman Relays by the Skyhawk Athletic Club, $100 for the Ackerman Relays by Tom Kirsch, and 24 student desks for Baker Middle School MD unit by Kelly, I'm going to butcher her last name, Klute? Klute. Kelly Klute.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes?
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. Item 11 is an additional acknowledgements of contributions. Yep.
All
Ms.
right.
Reister?
So all of the following donations are for Hall of Honor. We have Ronald Altoff, $25 Blue Donor. Jane Baker Bowyer, $25 Blue Donor. Wendell Dobbins, $100 Skyhawk Donor. We have Joyce Dennis, $50 White Donor. Dr. Harry Domicone, $100 Skyhawk Donor. Chris and Pam Gayhart, $100. Jack and Judy Gayhart, $100. Lieutenant Colonel James Hurd, $100. Carrie Keetrick, $100. Tom Kugler, $100. Marlene Miller, $100. Max and Linda Miller, $100. William Naughton, $100. Ed and Norma Nicola, $25. Dr. and Mrs. Michael Sewer, $100. Mr. and Mrs. James Tram, $100. Jim and Donna Welty, $25. Andy and Donna Wilson, $100.
Thank you to all of these donors. It's greatly appreciated. Okay, a motion for executive session.
Item
moved.
12, it's recommended to move into executive session for the specific purpose of the appointment, or compensation of public employees.
Okay,
So moved.
thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Mr.
And-
Browning,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt.
Yes?
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. We are now in executive session.